We are live. Now that I'm in the correct energy, I can proceed along with my beautiful, glorious day as a cherub should. Because the big G, not the little one, created cherubs for that purpose. To bring love, to show love, not for deceitful acts. So all of those PIMPs that feel like angel cat is what they need to go after so they can exploit it. Look who's coming. You know what's interesting about my life? I went about as a youngster not really knowledgeable of the deceitful acts that males create. And what I noticed is I encountered a lot of honesty. And because of this, I strived to do the right thing. When I finally realized that I was moving all the wrong ways because of tutelage. You know, I can remember I was like 9 years old on my way to my grandmother's house after school. And I seen one of those furs put off in front of it. And I said, "Hi." And he looked at me like I had trash on me. I was just a small child. Then as I got older, I started seeing things. Leagues. Leagues. Y'all remember the basketball leagues? I started seeing a kinder, gentler side of those furs put off in front of it. And I say, well, maybe they're not as bad. Some things you witness and you go through as an adolescent will shape and mold you. Have you believing things about the world that is not necessarily true. And it's not until you start rubbing noses, shaking hands, and talking to individuals that are different that you realize they're not as bad as you perceive them to be. And a lot of times, it has a lot to do with location, opportunity, and connections. If you grew up in an environment where you felt supported, you had opportunities, you had people cheering you on, your life would be a whole lot different. You know? That saying, it takes a village. They try to dismantle that saying. That comes from wisdom. It takes a village. That means everyone you encounter in your community has something to do with shaping and molding you into an adult. So that means your neighbor, your teacher, the corner store man, all of them. The thing about the corner store man is it's variables. You have owners, workers, and those that dwell. You know? What I know is it's a lot of finger pointing. I'm not one that is prone to finger pointing. I tend to blame myself a lot, you know, so I can get up out of that energy. What did I do wrong for this to happen? My situation is not like any others. The man upstairs, the Almighty, the big G, not the little one, knows me through and through because he created me. I am the one that says angels don't pray. They don't have to. The big G, not the little one, understands where that came from and why. Some people should understand that when you attempt to degrade someone you feel is lesser than because you think it's easy to do, then you go out into the world and you feel like because this Anglo-Saxon has money, I'm going to act as if I am a law-abiding citizen. You know what I'm talking about? It's funny how the package will shape and mold someone. What they believe about you versus what they know to be true. I grew up in an era where if people felt like they could use you to get ahead for whatever reason, they did it. Welcome. They did it. If they felt like you grew up in this community, so you deserve to be downgraded and ashamed, then they did it. And then when it came back to them, they didn't understand why, because the package is perfect. You know what I'm talking about? You have long hair, fair skin, you're model-esque. You deserve to be treated like a queen. But you kind of fat. Your face is not teed. You know what I'm talking about? You know that T? The perfect nose when you turn to the side. You know? So, since you don't fit the description of someone that is worthy of being treated like a queen, I'm going to use you. That's the era I grew up in. You know, when you feel like you're imperfect, you do things to appear perfect or worthy. And then you realize they've already clocked your T and labeled you, so it doesn't matter. They feel like you are the person that deserves to be disrespected. Then they go somewhere where they uplift their queen, and she disrespects him. That is the cycle of life, Mufasa. So you said it. I think it's hilarious. You know, it is poetic justice, especially for someone like me. You know, the thing about Haskanaz is after they are released, transmuted, the energy shifts. It goes to the rightful owner. And then they realize that they did not make good decisions. And if they had to do it all over again, as soon as they laid eyes on you, something would transform inside of their mind and say, do it again. You ever been around someone that just feels like they have more than you, and you want to be with them? But because they have more than you, they decide that you are not worthy. Then they go to every bit of trash and move them in. Because I have. One thing I know about my exes, whether or not if it was a solid commitment, is they make poor decisions. And for some reason, when I don't have no zeros attached to my name, I'm not worthy. But a piece of ish that you got off the track is. You know what I'm talking about? Maybe because she's mollusc in her legs. What you need to realize is they put another one on you during the crescent moon. And this is why you're running around looking like a chicken with his head hacked off. So I'm not worried about that, because when they say it happened in distortion, that means it really happened somewhere when you were distorted, regardless if you believe it to be true. So, if y'all understood the spiritual aspects of what I do, you wouldn't compare me to none of your trash. When I say Archangel, Safa, men have spiritual eyes, that has nothing to do with you, Mr. Mitchell. Because if you had spiritual eyes, you would see that she is a Asakia. There's nothing beautiful about that one. I threw you a bone, dog, and let you know what you were truly sleeping with. None of the Archangel men want her. So you can keep affording her a new lifestyle, because she deserves it. Yes, the crows, welcome. The crows. The crows for me is a sign. Anytime I see a whole bunch of crows, that means a hex was placed on someone that I know. Not on me, because they can't hex me. There's no hex that's ever greater than the one that was on my universe parents, which I help to take off. So for those that believe they're doing it to me, you are sadly mistaken. I did the work. In certain places, you'll see things, and there'll be signs, not red flags. He's trying to figure out a T word that he believes that he can convince y'all that he is training my mind, because he is an idiot, Thomas. So now you understand what happens when you do that. The crows. You ever seen the movie Crow? Are you aware that that is an archangel? All of these movies that are great, that talk about spiritual gifts, other worlds, dimensions, parallel universes, and things of that sort, like Constantine, are about archangels, their gifts, their timeline, their era. There's a belief amongst the wannabe witch-and-eyes that that is a sign that someone is putting a spell on you. if you see crows, because for them it's accurate, but not for an angel. So if someone presents to you a reading that talks about crows, it is because it is happening to them, not you. So now you know that tea. Walking around and saying that you are blessed is not protection. You have ascended past manifestation. Now you're just in your true energy. You don't get in the mirror and do affirmations and say, I look beautiful, I look beautiful, I look beautiful. And then go outside and believe that every male that sees you, because you're not encountering any man, is going to believe that you look like Holly Berry. You just look stupid and foolish. I already said that it's a serious day, and I told you why. Some of you, you go about and you feel like you can exercise the mom by saying Soli Natashi, and all of the moms that are archangels laugh because you think it's that simple. Giving men dominion and power over earth has nothing to do with you, female. You understand? You are not a power move maker, nor have you encountered anyone that is, because it's by grand design. So when you get ready to go to that ons, put a nation in front of it, and you say in your mind, cheese, eggs, and grits, understand that you look oopid. I could do a whole live saying everything that everyone that feels they are my nemesis is doing. Because for some odd reason, they think they're playing with me by coming in my chat, minds. You know what I'm talking about? And doing foolishness. Power moves. We all think power moves is putting our name on trees and lighting candles and chanting, which is not for you, by the way. If you were to purchase a reading, you would know what's for you and what's not. But you got it all together, G. So by all means, do you. You know what I'm talking about? The man in black. That's interesting. You know, it's so many people that feel like, oh, she's seen this before. She be timeline jumping. She's seen it. She talked about it, and she trying to fool people. And then you go outside and say, Ether, what universe am I in? All the archangels feel like that's funny. Yes, they disrespect you publicly, and then they apologize privately in so many words. I appreciate you. What it is they feel it too. They come in when, that one where there was cleansing attached to it. All of them that want to play with me in your minds, not mine, they feel like they could sneak in and get a clearing, and then, they start doing it again. Then they start talking to each other, trying to convince each other to get readings. It's funny. Then they say, I am such and such. I am sassafras. I am. Because that is what they've been trained to do. They don't, they follow train line. They follow what they hear. If someone says sassafras, then they say sassafras because they feel like they're hearing something that the archangels don't hear, when in fact it is distorted pantheons that are archangels training them. They say things like, does she know you working with me? They try to have like buddy. Like they want to diminish the archangel energy to the, they act like they have, like I'm the movement or something. Someone that ain't did nothing to them. Did she know? Did she know you working with me? She is stupid because she, wow, they haven't done anything. No type of power moves. None at all. Oh, man. You know what I imagine? Look, get ready, Gary. Look, they feel like they're going to take it. Watch this. I imagine that I'm going to be chilling somewhere where it's peaceful, where I don't have to worry about nothing. Look, watch this. Oh, they're not doing it. You gotta wait. You gotta probably wait till the line. Take her abundance. They're gonna say the big G, because they always gotta use what I use, right? Yeah, the big G, this time you gotta say, take your cherubs abundance and give it to me. Because I wanna hear it. Because I think it's gonna be pretty hilarious. You're almost there. And the big G knows it. We're just waiting. If you do it while I'm on live, it might work this time. Yeah. Take Isa's abundance and give it to me, whatever life she has. This is what they were saying. Nah, we gonna stay bound to Ether because eventually you're gonna bring her money back up. And so when her money goes up, ours goes too, while having absolutely no type of investment. Before you go into that office, G, make sure you take all of that money out of that account because they're going to check. See? He just threw you a bone. If you have stocks and bonds, you're not going to qualify for that. You see? There you go. There goes another bone. They do act like I don't know. It is my business to know. But for some reason, they feel like they're supposed to be my nemesis because they seen one reading that told everything that they did, and they decided that I was the one to go after, not the one that is on top of their helmet, because they are cowards. I can't wait to get to my true nature as well. It's not about going back to the old ether. It's about ether being in her element. Love, happiness, joy. The whole thing about yesterday is it was up that it was set, because people believe that if my spiritual spouse is around, that they could somehow steer him in a different direction while absolutely having nothing to show for it or no one in their presence. Now they're gonna say it's because it's by choice, but I beg to differ, because every female that you bring around you tends to take things. I wonder why that happens. We know where you're headed, and she does too. It's a funny thing about when you dive into certain depths, the smell that tends to linger. You happen to occasionally smell it, and you say, is that me? Yep. But some things, you do, it leaves a stench on you spiritually. Do you know you could have a spiritual smell and a look? Which brings me back to Archangel men with their spiritual eyes. They can see all type of things on a body that you feel is so beautiful. Entry points and access points. Points where things start decaying. So the one that said, angels, they detox all the time, and that's where that smell came from. She oddly believes that she is putting something on me, which is funny, because when I open up my legs, it doesn't smell like a sewer. I can sit with one leg out the window and the other propped up on my dashboard, and it don't smell like Hiroshima. You dropped a bomb on me, baby. You dropped that bomb on me. Sorry, y'all. They be wanting to play with me. They be wanting to play with me. You know, that Bath and Body Works is not working. Apple-ish is right. The twang is a little bit different, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, you know what? When an archangel get in on you, it's something different. Because you know it's the truth. You know what I'm saying? Like, they be sitting there talking about, look at me, my body is perfect. Because they went and bought it, you know? And the archangel sees all kind of things when they look at you. You know, all kind of things. All of the archangel men say, either don't need to see this, because in their minds, I am a baby. They consider all cherubs, male, female, women, men, babies. And therefore, they have to protect us. Because the things that they know is true, they don't want us to experience that. They don't want us to see that. They don't want it to taint us. They believe it's their duty. That is by grand design. Now, in regards to divine timing, what everyone that opens this live is going to notice is a shift. Oh yeah. Listen, some of these readers, they are right on point. Now, some may say it's because they know the person, and some may say it's because they're intuiting. Now, you have to use your third eye to figure it out. I don't watch no readers. I haven't watched another reader. There was one that came across my timeline, and I said, I'm going to watch her. But, you know, the beginning started off really well. But as it progressed, I said, this is not right. So I exited. That was maybe 9 months ago or something like that. When someone does something to you spiritually like that, how it ignites is intercourse. So if you feel like that is something that you've experienced, goddess, then it starts with the person that you lay down with. It has to be ignited. If you're not laying down with any person that has a hasifi on them, you won't get it. What you all need to realize is some of these people that you've encountered throughout your life had connectivity when you met them. That means they were already communicating spiritually to others, regardless if they knew it to be true or not. When they would talk in their minds, something was talking to them, steering them in a certain direction. That is correct. They don't. And this is why I said abstinence. When I said it, I also divulged personal information. At that time, I had already been abstinent for 3 years. Some people would say that's not true. Why would I tell a tall tale like that? I don't have to say that I'm abstinent if I'm not. It is because they can't go 1 week without it. Because I am a spiritual person, I understood what laying down with certain males did to me spiritually. When you are a divine feminine and you lay down with a male that feels as if he could put you in competition with trash, what you're going to notice is they take all the love, care, devotion from you and they give it to someone that is trash. That's how the haskana that was placed on him works. Yes, every time I try to leave, something keeps pulling me back. We know what that something is. Some of y'all do it willingly. You willingly play into the haskana. It has everything to do with you not being divine. If someone with a haskana like that was on you, were to encounter someone that is spiritual, not religious, they wouldn't even choose them because their frequency is not low enough. You have to have someone on a low frequency to match another individual with a hexagon on them. They wouldn't even see you as attractive, even if you are. And it has SLUT ring to it. That's what that type of hexagon, that means that's what they want. They want that energy. Some of those that you truly respect, they have a hexagon on them to where when you see them with certain type of females, not women, they have that SLUT energy on them, which they think is sexy. If you were to ask an archangel, man, do they think SLUT energy is sexy? They would say no. They prefer their women, not females, because they don't intertwine themselves with females for various reasons. Androgynous is different. We're not talking about the female that is androgynous. Okay? That means they have a lot of masculine, asikio energy. and some organs too. We're not talking about androgynous. Androgynous belong with other androgynous, not with men or women. That is how it is. So when you look at someone and you see something and you try to figure out why are you attracted to this person? It has a lot to do with the type of hexagon that is on you. Because if you didn't have that on you, you wouldn't even see them as a partner. When someone has a SLUT energy on them, regardless if they're male or female, it is because of who they encountered, usually when they were underage. And this is why you have all this doctrine geared towards not doing it, literally. Because a lot of times it's with someone that is unholy and unclean. When we talk about arrangement of wedlock, that is something the big G, not the little one, does automatically. This is why I say spiritual spouses are different from paper contracts, which means when the big G chooses someone for you, that is the right energy. When you choose them for yourself, that is a hexagon. And that is it. Nothing else. Because I ascended to my highest height this lifetime, I could see someone, a man or a male, that I say is pleasing to my eyes, but I wouldn't want to be with them. The same goes for the men that are archangels. You can see someone and appreciate the outside, but not want to be with them. I said the archangel men, the seraphim, are the ones that can see what you look like spiritually. And because they can see what you look like spiritually, they don't want to be with you. That's what I said. I know that's hard to fathom because you think you're gorgeous. So you can mosey right on along, Trina, and not the singer. Well, rapper, we're not talking about her. Because we know y'all like to sensationalize. And by the way, sensationalizing something doesn't mean it's good. You know, I heard someone say, sensationalize. We can sensationalize ether. Like, you know, it's like, look the word up first. You know, like passafacio, pasafo flante. You know, palifu afrasati ante. But you don't know asafio asakati. It sounds like elegance, but what they're actually saying, you would feel is disrespectful. It sounds like it's, you know, that could be something that, you know, I'm gonna call myself Asafia. And then you realize that the meaning of that is something that is unholy. You know what I'm talking about? This is how, you know, some people, they, you know, if I were to say I am Alicia Osafo Diado, you would say, that sounds like a name I want to use. Let me all go over to Tuckity Tick and recreate the name. And then you realize that Alicia Osafio Diado is a woman. And when you call upon her, she can inhabit your body. You start thinking, oh, no, I'm not going to call myself that. The same with my eye. You know, it's hard for others that are not spiritual to understand that being a mon doesn't mean you're bad. But it's like you call yourself something that you are definitely not, and then you wonder why your life is going like that. And it's because you tried to take over the identity of a divine being, and that's not feasible or copacetic. You know, combining your name with the biological father's name, that was a good idea there, because then it's something new. Maybe a lot of times, you know. Though that was the era. This was my era when we started having children. Some of us, we decided we would combine our name with the father's name, and voila, we have a name. That's an original idea, you know? That way you're not repeating bad currency. You're giving your child a chance. You know, the favorite one is open up that biblical indoctrination and pick a name out of there. Ah, I got it. This one sounds right. I'm going to call my child Masafi. And everybody's going to say, he is blessed. And then you encounter a whole bunch of individuals that feel like you hexed your child because you are so unclean. You shouldn't have a child with a holy name. And then you find out that Mustafi is a Duman, and it changes everything. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Mustafi is Messiah. Heru, that's interesting. You know, there's a lot of individuals that call their children Asakana, not Egyptian names. That is Asakana. We understand that you believe it is an Egyptian name, but it is not. Heru is a divine being. Het Heru is a combination. Some are smart enough to know that that is a combination. That means two beings. Heru is not an acronym for God. It's not. Some of you falsely believe that, and it's not true. I know Heru. Heru is a divine being. In some places, he is considered an archangel seraphim. Do you all understand? Because that is his pathway. Heru is not a Sopri Natashi. Heru has lit up some of your doctrine while you were reading it because you use his name. So he knows your energy. Anytime you use a divine being's name, they have access to you. So remember that. Osiris is a popular name. Osiris is not Heru. We know that you've been trained to believe that, but we're telling you that that is false. Y'all want them to talk, and when they talk, you don't even realize that that is them. Because you don't know their voices. I've already spoke about reincarnation. What happens is someone will put out a doctrine with the exact name, and then a shift happens, and then more people put out doctrines, not realizing that those are the same beings with a different name. Sort of like the Oracle of the Ether, Sun, Moon, and Stars intuitive, Mystique, River Maiden Goddess, River Maiden Mystic, Triple Moon Goddess, just like that. Those are all of my names. Ether, you know? So if someone were to write a book and say the Oracle of the Ether, yada, 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 and then a shift happens and someone runs across Sun, Moon, and Stars intuitive and they write a doctrine, and then you go to a different genre and you see Ether, then they write a doctrine. People are not aware that I am all of these names. Depending on where you encounter me at is right. If you were to be on a device again and you say play Oracle of the Ether, it'll say ding and my content will come on. People on this platform know me as Sun, Moon, and Stars Intuitive. People that use satellite and they watch podcasts or they listen to podcasts know me as Oracle of the Ether. What you're talking about is Mabaduza Yakaharo, and that is also my name. That is Kai Swahili. So it depends on where you encounter me at. You know, people do it all the time. When you're around your friends, you say, call me yada yada yada. Or my name is yada yada yada. Then when you go to work, they have your mint name. You know, when you went to school with somebody, they had a nickname for you. The same thing. You understand? Well, when you name someone Yairu, for instance, and that is their name as a child, they don't know that that is a divine being's name. The parent knows a minute fraction of that name. You know, there's a era where the women, the men, the males and females wanted to name their sons, their firstborn, after the father. Okay? You have senior, you have junior, then you have first, second, and third. Now you get it. It's Roman numerals when you see first, second, and third. That means there's several individuals with the same name in the same lineage. And to be able to distinguish who you're talking about, you have to use the Roman numerals. That era is long gone. You'll find that amongst the wealthy. Those ones that follow tradition like that do it for a reason, because they want to keep the name going. But if that is not a part of your lineage or heritage, you need not do that, because you don't know the outcome of doing that. So names like Haru, Osiris, they're popular, but these are supreme divine beings. You can't just say, I'm going to name my child Osiris, for instance, and because I'm naming my child Osiris, that means he will be protected by Osiris. You don't decide that. The great I am decides that. You know? Even if the original meaning, or you didn't originally intend to do something that was disrespectful to a divine being, still doesn't change the fact that we are reincarnated and incarnate Asifios souls. And when you take into consideration that these are the originals, they know who you are in every life because they're supposed to. If you have a certain type of Haskana on you, and you decide that you're going to name your child after your parents' enemy, per se, then that kind of like changes things. So you might not want to do that. I know for a fact, because I said my child would be named Satan. This is what I said. And because God put it in the air where it's fair, several females decided that they were going to name their child Satan too. And you know what Satan said? Asafene Kisio, his name will not be Satan. That's what he said. Some of y'all need to realize that Satan is a rank. So you'll be doing your child a disservice if you do that. Because someone feels like Jezebel has not been named. No one that they've ever encountered was named Jezebel. Now they're saying Jezebel. He is snickering because he remembers that era where she decided that she was going to use his name and she became a Jezebel spirit. You see what I'm talking about? It is because people hear Jezebel and someone writes it down. And then someone else happens to get a hold to that document and they say, how do you pronounce this? Their mind formulated Jezebel. That's how they read it. And that became their name. If he cuts it off, it said it was around 52, so, you know, because some of y'all like stats. You know that he does it. You know it's not the system. And, you know, I have to remind you of, because some are supposed to document it. They know if they're supposed to document it. If you decide one day I'm going to write a book solely for the purpose of being rich, because you think no one sees me again, then you might not want to do it. I know for those that feel like they are my team and those that feel like they're not, but they are being called to divine design. Usually the ones that feel like they're not, but they're being called to divine design are really a part of my team. And so they write things down just because it's interesting, not because they feel like they're going to be famous. Those are the ones that have had Haskanas placed on them. And because they've had Haskanas placed on them, they don't understand why they are being called to do a certain thing. And it just keeps calling, you know. And then they just decide, okay, I'm just going to jot this down before I leave out real quick. Those are the ones that feel like they have work to do, spiritual work, and they do. The ones that watch with the intentions of, oh, she's gonna say something. Oh, she's telling right now. Why'd she say that? Why'd she say that? Now she done told on herself. Those are the ones that are already being watched, spiritually and otherwise. So they feel like they got a lot of time on their hands, and you know, They're gonna hop off into the book genre one day if they can find a female that'll edit. All they gotta do is just tell her everything. Either said Haskana, spell it. See, it's something like when somebody said Juicy Bazel. And they say, how you spell that? Just spell it how you say it. Just spell it how you say it. That's why you have so many misprints and so many tall tales. What I know about the ones that try to teach out of these distorted books with untruths, they mean well because they're looking for the secret. They know something is not right and they feel like it's in doctrine. These are the ones that spend their hard-earned cash traveling the world, picking up these books and researching them, not going on Google. You know what I'm talking about? So for someone like me to come in and say, that's not accurate, everything in their heart sinks. They know it. They feel it to be true, young Pharaoh. You feel it. You know that I'm telling the truth. But because so much money, time, and attention has been spent on what you believe is your legacy, you don't want to accept it. Therein is your ascension. Yo, because someone feels like young Pharaoh wasn't in here, I'm just going to say it, you know. When I seen young Pharaoh, when I first encountered young Pharaoh, I said, this young man is sharp. All right. When I attempted to introduce him to my children that were teenagers at that time, they weren't interested. Now that they are grown adult men, they know who young Pharaoh is. You know what I'm talking about? I encountered young Pharaoh over 10 years ago. He may be new to some of y'all. I encountered his energy before the hieroglyph on his face. I watched him grow. When you and Sarah Sudenseti came to Cali, I showed up outside. I didn't go in. I showed up outside. You have master teachers in every era. Every era, there's a master teacher. You just gotta be somewhere where you can be seen and heard. I indeed know what happened with young Pharaoh because I watched it. When he sat down with Tasha Gay and he started talking about his experience with what we know is real ETs, everybody said something was wrong with him. But when I seen it, I said, he is not lying. It takes the man upstairs, the big G, not the little one, to put someone through an experience that a lot of people respect, for them to realize that it indeed can happen. Now, if you have onlookers that don't respect you, they're going to sensationalize it. Now you understand what sensationalize means. It's degradation. It's disrespectful. The pharaoh that you have there is an indication of a slave. Now you understand, because Osiris is not a slave. It looks good to us. We feel like that's home. And for good reason. Because maybe in one of your lives, you were a pharaoh. It's information like that that's eye-opening. When you get it from a true Ossifio, you understand why it happened to you like that. When I talk about Bobby Hemmett, y'all don't understand that his whole life was a movement, an experience. You've seen his growth, and then some of you felt like he declined, and what happened was he ascended. Bobby Hemmett would speak to Set. You all know that. That is not a tall tale. He knew all of these underworld beings because he's one. That is it.